David?
Start. We just got one more walking in and we met a quorum, so we will be getting started right now. All right. Good morning, everyone. You're online and in the room. We have 3 in the room and the rest are online. So four in the room.
1, 2.
Oh, right.
And
4 in the
yourself.
room. Yeah.
You're counting yourself.
Hey, I don't count myself. Okay. Let's do attendance. So we'll start in the room and then we'll go online. Mike Guida.
Mike Guida, CORC.
Holly Hahn, Office of the General Counsel.
David Dolan, what was it? Facilities Management.
David Porter, CORC.
Barbara Myers, Construction Purchasing.
Bill Nickel, CORC.
John Cheshire, CORC.
Dorothy Banashevsky, Facilities Construction.
Over here. Against the wall, please. Go ahead. Announce yourself.
Renee Ray from Randolph Construction Group.
Bill Connell, Bertle Construction.
Robert Anderson, Wharton Smith. John Levinson, Rel Enterprises, representing Wharton Smith and Ziskovich Architect.
Bob Willett, Office of Inspector General.
Hey, Bob.
Lydia Santiago, Garrett's Construction. Meg Hepner with the Whites Company. Megan Moretto with the Whites Company.
Okay, go ahead and online.
Virginia Ferris, CORC.
Sam Shannon, CORC.
Lou Doctor, CORC.
That's it.
Is that all we have online? 3?
Jay's ISAE comp.
There we go.
Okay, very good.
And Frank Barbieri, School Board.
Okay, thank you, Barbieri. All right, we have a quorum. We will get started. We got attendance. I have nothing to report.
David,
Yes, Virginia.
under attendance, are there any excused absences to report?
Yeah, we have Tradrick asked for 1 and Ken asked for 1.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Anyone with a conflict of interest for anything coming up today? Michael Gelfand signing on, so he is in attendance. I don't hear any conflicts of anybody online and none in the room. We have no conflicts. CORC report. Lou, can you do a report for us again as you've amicably done?
Yeah, Dave, I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. We're to staff updates.
Okay. Dorothy, do you have anything? Okay. I don't actually have a lot in that we're kind of busy these days, so I don't want to talk too much about stuff because, well, we got a lot of construction ongoing. We've spent the last 2 weeks since the end of school cranking out and starting to prepare some of our bigger projects. A lot of our facility renewal projects are well underway. And we're trying to dance around some of the summer programs because while summer is always a big time for our construction department, it is now a very big time for the schools to take advantage of summer camps. There's always a little bit of course recovery going on for the first week or so, but we're now into summer camps. So we do have
Yes.
so we do have a lot of that to work around and organize. So we're quite busy. And me personally, I have the joy of announcing that I had my daughter, my oldest child, graduated from Jupiter High School 2 weeks ago. Make you feel old now. Around when she was born. I believe it. But yeah, she graduated Jupiter High School, and I was fortunate enough to shake 700 hands at that high school graduation in order to be able to give her her diploma, which was really fun. And she's off in 2 weeks to University of Florida at Gainesville.
Yay, congrats.
So I'm in denial. I am absolutely in denial. Can't imagine what it's going to be like. And that's it for us.
Okay. Any questions on staff comments? I guess not. All right, Mr. Berger, we see the old UF hat there.
So you guys know Leah, Michael Galfand, and Tom Berger have all joined us.
Okay, good.
You.
Okay, public comments. Any public comments? And we don't have any public online because they're not allowed online, I guess, right? No,
Correct.
right.
Correct.
Okay, so no public comments. Let's get down consent agenda. Start with FC1. I wanted that pulled. Mike wanted it pulled. FC2,
Yes.
John and Mike. PC1. PC2. I wanted to pull that one. PC3. PC4.
Excuse me, I wanted PC3.
Okay. All right, and PC4? All right, Virginia, give us your motion.
Move the two items forward on consent agenda.
All
Second.
right. Second by
My
Sam.
apologies, Mr. Chair. Can I do PC4 instead of PC3?
No. Okay.
Caught me a little bit close there. And was
Okay, the motion
PC1
is
pulled?
still for the two to go forward without objection.
Was PC1 pulled?
PC1 was not pulled.
If you'll pull that one also, please.
Okay.
And was FC2 pulled?
FC2 was pulled.
Michael, you're making things difficult here.
Yes, you are.
So
right.
what are we left with?
So
PC3 is the
to
only one.
clarify,
Three, the only one that's on.
PC3 is the only one that didn't get pulled.
All right, then the motion is to move PC3 forward without objection.
Okay, Sam, you were still okay with a second on that? Okay, Dorothy, I guess you got to poll this.
All right, Bill Hookio,
Yes.
Dave Porter,
Yes.
John Cheshire,
Yes.
Leah Gaines,
Yes.
Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll start with FC1. I had pulled it and Mike Guida pulled it. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just curious how we could have two contingency values that are different on the same project. Because I see for Song and Associates, they have a original contingency of 35,000. I'm sorry, I'm looking at item 11
Okay.
on the contingency report.
Sorry.
They seem to have the same project number, so I'm assuming it's the same project.
You said item 11.
And 12
Oh, on the list.
on the list.
Oh, okay.
The West Tech Academy,
West Tech Academy.
UA2 and HUA3.
Yeah, if you scroll to the right, you'll see there's two different contingency values. 35,000 and 79,000.
Good question.
Yeah, I wondered about that too.
So we got to
I'd move.
approve a previous additional contingency.
What we did was took money out of project contingency and moved to
Right.
the architect services.
The
And that shows up in our paper trail prior to this meeting's documents.
It should show up in the ACUA itself.
Okay. Dorothy, you're saying that it is rectified someplace.
Yes.
Okay. Are you trying to pull that up now? Okay, good. No, that's fine. Take your time.
So is that why there was just about no money left in line 11 and then 12 came back with a lot of money?
That is correct.
Taking from the left pocket and putting it in the right pocket.
That's what we did.
As long as that's okay, I'm just bringing out discrepancies.
That's what we're here for.
That's right.
Right.
And we make staff look really good when they show us that it's all in line.
Yeah, we actually know what we're doing. So
That's on the public record.
So as part of this ACUA, we pulled money from project contingency to increase the architect's purchase order.
Was this with our backup today, or this was with a prior backup?
This is in today's backup.
It is with today's backup. Okay. Somebody have a hand raised? I hear a ding.
Heard to be, yeah.
Got a increase and a decrease boxes are both checked.
That's correct, because we increased the overall contingency and then we took out for this particular contingency.
Increased it from the project. Okay.
So we increased it on this line and decreased it on that line.
Yeah, is there a hand raise that we just couldn't see?
I don't see it.
Dorothy, this document is with the CORC information that we had in our package? Oh,
It is not, because it was approved under delegated authority.
I see.
Don't always get the backup for that.
Right. Okay.
Because otherwise.
Michael Gelfand does have his hand raised.
Okay, there it is.
Thank you. Question on this. I see this was really a contingency effort for paving. With the concerns that increased prices will force a reduction in other projects, should we be picking up these types of items and instead holding back contingency funds for primary purpose projects?
Not sure I follow.
Michael, you're coming through very muffled and we're having a hard time understanding your words.
My apologies. I'll try to get to a better connection in a little bit. So my understanding is that paving was originally taken off as not being a priority part of the overall project. And then when there were contingency funds available, it came back in. Should we not be holding back on these, what I'll call secondary priority items, in light of the overall increases in prices that we're seeing everywhere, and we may have shortfalls for other projects?
Michael, I had the same questions and Dave's going to respond to that at this point, specifically about the West Tech project.
Yeah.
David?
Yes, it's a very good point, Mr. Gelfand. The one thing that I have to start with the West Tech project, it needs to be understood by everyone that while it looks like a facility renewal project, it is in fact not a facility renewal project. It is actually on the referendum list. I don't know if Leanne's on, but this was on the referendum list. It was a $10 million project. And in fact, the original scoping when referendum was put together was to build a new building. Try to knock down the existing building, which is a 90,000 square foot campus, and build a new building. But for $10 million, you weren't going to get anything. You were going to get a 20,000 square foot building. So we, at the beginning of this project, and with your approval, we actually did a due diligence with Song and Associates to evaluate whether we should do a new building or whether we should renovate the existing building. And both from a facilities standpoint, as well an academic programming standpoint, the obvious answer was renovate the existing 90,000 square foot building. So right now, that project that we've done for the last year does appear as though it's a facility renewal type work. We're upgrading all the air conditioning, we're redoing classroom lighting, we're redoing the roof, we're redoing all the bathrooms, those kinds of things. those are all the same scopes we do in facility renewals, but this isn't one of those. This school got $10 million and we need to spend that $10 million on upgrading that school and making it to today's standards, both from a facilities standpoint, an operational standpoint, and an academic standpoint. So our money doesn't necessarily go for academic programs, although I say that it's generally not. It's going mostly to the site. In fact, the paving change orders that you see are the only academic programming work we're doing as part of this project. That paving is for the CDL parking lot and for the roadways around it and supporting. So that's why, while normally we would agree, we don't want to, keep spending contingency money on these facility renewals when there's probably overages elsewhere that we're going to need that money. In this particular case, this $10 million was promised on the referendum as improvements to this school. So that's why it's been deemed that we are going to continue spending on these items.
Michael, I had the same questions as to if we have contingency money left over on a project, why is that not going back into the general contingency? So when another school comes in over budget, we've got the money to finish off what was promised for that school. But I spoke to Dave a couple of days ago and he gave me the same information he's giving you now, that this is a $10 million budgeted project for the school. It just is not going to be the new building. It's going to be the renovation work to bring that campus up to the standards that we're providing for other schools. I guess my question would be, if you do everything and it still doesn't take 10 million, obviously the contingency, I would hope, that's still left over goes back into general contingency for other overages we might get.
Certainly. I see Mr. Sanchez has got his
Joe,
hand
Mr.
raised. I
Sanchez.
think he wants to weigh in on
Yes,
too.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think Dave laid it out pretty well about the $10 million is committed to this school. So we expect to spend that money at that school. And I don't expect there to be money left over, to tell the truth. These changes that you're seeing are really just clarifying what the scope is to address that $10 million and how we're spending it. But to the bigger question about how we're paying for overages on other projects, Leanne laid out a very good overall plan for the district to the ISOC committee, which Dave Porter is familiar with, demonstrating how we've estimated the cost for the remaining projects that are in the referendum and how we're paying for that, the additional cost with the additional sales tax money that's coming in. Our revenues are, I think, somewhere around 118 to 120% of projection. So we're far exceeding what we projected to get in the sales tax. Plus, we're moving money out of sales tax funding into certificates of participation, into COPS, and that's going to free up a bunch of more money as well. So we're confident that we're going to have sufficient funds to keep all the promises that we made to everybody with the referendum. We could provide CORC with that same report that we sent to ISOC. It was also explained to the board at our last budget workshop as well. So I think it's appropriate that we share information with you so you can have the same confidence that we have that we are going to be able to finish the projects that we committed to with the referendum.
And we, to dovetail on what Mr. Sanchez just referred to, we were actually going to try to have discussions with you. That board workshop and that there's a slide that Leanne was kind enough to develop to show how we're reserving enough money to be able to cover these overages that we are anticipating on these projects. However, Leanne's running a conference this week. So I don't think she's online.
No, it's okay. Let's,
but we can certainly come back next month and make sure we.
yeah, Dorothy,
brief you guys
please
on
put that on an agenda item for next month to have Leanne give us that run through. It was a very succinct one-page explanation for how Leanne's working with the dollars to make sure we get everything done. Okay, anybody else have issues on FC1 then?
Yeah, I've got a couple of other questions just to follow up, if I may. And Dave, I don't get too worried that you and I are thinking on the same plane from time to time. I know that could probably make you paranoid. But on the item that deals with Citrus Cove expansion, I think that was part of the follow-up information. There's going to be an overlay placed on that because the moisture through the slab. Will that be sufficient if we don't know the cause of the moisture to prevent further problems from occurring?
Yes. We've done that before. I don't know if we're using Ardex, if that's the brand we're using, but it is specifically meant to be a coating overlay moisture barrier to allow the flooring manufacturer to put the flooring down and to not void their warranty.
Exactly.
Alrighty, thank you.
That it?
But the question still remains, if the moisture is because of water coming up from the ground underneath the concrete and saturating the concrete beneath, that's one thing, and that's what that moisture protector is going to protect.
Right.
Well, what if it's coming from the side, from a side wall or something like that, and therefore so is it the concrete beneath that is wet and has a moisture reading, or is it a moisture that's coming from a different source? That's the only question I have.
It would be from underneath, because if it was just from the outside walls, you'd have a 2-foot strip around the outside where the moisture reading is too high, not in the middle of a slab someplace. And the building could be old enough that it may never have even gotten visqueen underneath the slab as a vapor barrier. Wasn't always required by code. So the coating material will do the trick to allow the flooring to go down. It's not cheap, so it better work.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's intended, as you said, from my perspective, it's intended to make sure the warranty is upheld. Because 5 years from now, I need to know that when I call, because it's tiles popping because of moisture, it's going to be taken care of, not on our dime.
We did use this, I'm thinking a year or two ago at, I think, 2 different schools. Do we have any feedback from those schools to, do a walkthrough and know that the flooring is definitely fully adhered and that the product did work? I think we should do that.
Dorothy, if you want to make a note,
I think we did it on 2 schools because it was like, $40,000 or something for 2 classrooms. It was like, really?
Right.
Okay, any other questions on FC1 comments? All right, need a motion to move it forward.
Move to go forward without objection.
Okay. In a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mike Guida. Dorothy Polis, please.
Bill Hookia,
Yes.
Dave Porter,
Yes.
Frank Simon, sorry, John Cheshire,
Yes.
Leah Gaines,
Yes.
Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, FC2, John, Michael, and Mike Guida. So go ahead, John, you start us.
The original GMP on this project included 2.4 million for roofing work. Excuse me, and this change order is adding another 2.5 million for additional roofing work. I've got no issue with the work, it's the CM fee. The CM is adding another 58,500 for construction phase services fee, in addition to his 125,000 for overhead profit. The change order says the 58,500 consists of 50% added time for the super and 16% added time for the assistant project engineer. And I was just wondering, how was that done? How did they add a 50% super? Is he like just coming in the mornings and watching the roofer and then nobody's watching him in the afternoon? And I don't think that's the case because they're charging us for the added time for this new super at exactly the same rate as the current super. So apparently they're not doing that. But the current super is already working 40 hours a week. So how does he work another 20 hours a week? And the same thing for the assistant PE. How is he working another 16 hours per week when he's already working a full-time schedule? So I'm just don't understand the construction phase services fee on this one.
Well, if it's okay, I'm going to turn it over to the project manager who's running it. Dorothy?
So it is not the same person. I did question that in the beginning too. It's not going to be the same person. They are going to bring somebody on to assist basically the superintendent, because what we started out was roofing was our big thing. We were going from March until June. That was the biggest activity going on at the campus. They were also doing lighting, they were doing restrooms, they were doing some AC work, but for the most part, they were focused on roofing. Now that roofing is wrapped up. For the summer months and going forward, they are focused very heavily on the other activities. The lighting, the AC work, the flooring, the bathroom renovations, to all of those things that are going on. They had in their original GMP, they had anticipated that they were going to have a heavy flow in the beginning on roofing. As that wrapped up, they were going to have a heavy flow on everything else. They did not account for supervision of this additional roofing. So they had their baseline, and now this is added work to that they feel they need additional supervision on. And I do agree with everything they've got going on at that site. That site is really active. They've torn up all of the parking lots and they've got people going everywhere, that they probably do need additional supervision to make sure everything is kept going directly, going smoothly. Why they have 50%? They probably don't need somebody sitting there watching the roofers all day long and all evening long, especially with all the rain and everything that we're getting. They're probably not getting full days worth of work right now, but they do need somebody on top of the guys who are managing everything else going on site. The 16% for our engineer is really more for the paperwork, because this is a separate contract, a separate purchase order, and it has to be accounted for separately. So they cannot put everything under just the FCA project. It's basically a separate project.
It's funded separately, maybe on like
Under capital.
on the same paperwork, but it has to be accounted for completely differently.
He's saying, why not just put an assistant superintendent? And why is he charging the exact same rate as the expensive superintendent that they've already got watching the job?
I cannot answer that. I don't know.
The cost of $2.5 million of the roofing work is about a 20% add to the project. But here they're putting a 50% superintendent. I just think it's too much superintendent plus the rate it's too expensive. So for that reason, I'm going to be voting no on this one.
Okay, Mike Guida?
I was reviewing the high-tech roofing quote and for the two different roof types, building 8 and then the other groups of buildings. And in red, they have a bunch of exclusions in their contract. I don't see any other inclusions on Kaufman Lynn's proposal to include those exclusions. So who's going to pick up the lightning, more specifically, the lightning protection system is going to have to be removed by somebody and reinstalled. And that's excluded in here. And I don't see any work of that being done or picked up on Kaufman Lynn's side.
That's on the change order that was excluded.
Yes, it's on a change order here.
Dorothy, is it possible that it's because a lot of those other items were already included under the original roof scope, knowing that it's
That is possible.
Why would there be another roof scope? Isn't this
the original contract has roof? That's what we spent the first 3 months.
has roof
March
repair
through.
to be done, right? It was roof repair, then they decided to have it go.
It was roof systems. Yeah.
So I just want to bring that to your attention and let you know, or bring that up to Coffin Land to see if they have it covered elsewhere.
Okay.
And we do appreciate that. The premise being, you put it in the first change order, you don't come back to us later on. So that basically what we're approving is, yeah, you may be excluding it, but somebody else in your scope or should be taking care of it and not coming back to us for another change order later.
Right.
And we're saying don't come back to CORC later for another change order either.
I consider you and I collectively, yes.
Page 15.
Okay, that it for you, Mike?
That's it.
Okay, and Michael Gelfand, I think, too. Didn't you pull this,
I
Michael?
didn't have my.
Yes, I did. And I appreciate Mr. Goodall raising up on the lightning protection, but yeah, there's a slew of other items. I don't know if there are other mechanical installations on this roof, such as AC and otherwise, but those are also excluded from this. I'm looking at, the notes and exclusions on this. I don't have the page number on there, but it's the one that has the large number of red A through L. Are we going to be having those types of issues, or is this a roof that has no installations, no ladders, nothing else that we have to worry about?
Well, I think what we should be letting staff know is to go back and review any exclusions that are in here or anything like you're saying AC units that's not specifically noted either to be worked on or not worked on, and then come back with a follow-up to let us know that it's all resolved and it's all being taken care of in the aggregate contract.
Correct. I would appreciate that. Because I do agree with you, Mr. Gelfand, completely that we don't want any of these things coming back around of, well, but we told you we weren't taking care of it. Yeah, my attitude towards contractors is, and forgive me for those of you that are in the room, I don't care. I paid you to do the job. Fix it, get it all done completely as is. Don't give me the exclusions of, well, somebody else needs to take care of it. No, I'm paying you to take care of it. So I would agree with what Mr. Gelfand and Mr. Porter are referring to. Mr. Sanchez has his hand raised.
Joe.
Speaking of one of the as a former contractor, two things.
Does
One
that
is
mean that you're reformed?
yeah, I'm reformed. Yeah, so I want to respond to two different things. One is that what we're looking at right now that's on the screen is the proposal from the roofing contractor, not Kaufman Lynn in general. So it's not uncommon that a roofing contractor would not be responsible for the other HVAC or any other equipment that's on the roof. He may be he's just responsible for the roofing, and then the mechanical contractor would be responsible for removing and replacing their own stuff. So that's probably why you're seeing exclusions on this document, which is specifically from High Tech Roofing. That does not mean that the CM is not responsible for those items, kind of like what Dave Dolan said. So I just want to point that out. The other, in response to the other comment about the superintendent, I don't know this for a fact, but I asked Dorothy and Dave Dolan to check into this. I wouldn't be surprised that the roofing work, the reason why we're seeing the superintendent and that the CM partner, the sub-consultant with additional time is because that work may be taking place outside of any other work, and therefore they need to be covering for that period that they're only going to be working on the roofing, whereas that other work other scope may be completed or not started, or whatever the case may be, and that's why we're seeing that amount. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same superintendent just for additional time. So I don't know that'd be a factor or not. I don't know enough about the details, but I'd ask them to look into that. But that would, in my mind, justify the reason for the same rate for that individual. Thank you.
Yeah, in terms, Joe, I agree with that. The one point about other equipment on the roof and the lightning protection system and who's taking care of that is that I believe that the change order amount we're being asked to accept is really just for the roofing subcontractors work with the Kaufman and Lynn markup. So I don't want to make the assumption that Kaufman Lynn has taken care of all that other stuff, because we're not seeing separate numbers from them in addition to the roofing cost to handle removal and replacement of mechanical equipment, removal and replacement of lightning detection systems.
Yeah, you would have to look at the original GMP to see what is included in the HVAC contractor's scope of work.
Right, but this roofing area wasn't part of the original scope.
Again,
Roof repair there's a description, I think.
Well,
Roof repair doesn't.
In the GMP.
And it's in the GMP because we pointed out in the GMP, the original GMP, which we took in February? We even put in a note on the agenda item that said, we're coming back with this roof change order. So it was contemplated during the original estimation of the GMP. The actual bid price may have come out more recent, but the contemplation of the work was always there. They knew it.
But bottom line still is that we don't know, and thus this needs to go back to have that clarified, it seems.
Yeah, I just need a one-liner on a letterhead from Kaufman Lynn saying, yeah, everything's taken care of. Don't worry about it. No extras.
Well, wouldn't there be a credit for the anticipated roof work for the repair on this as well? So if this is roof work to be re-roof all those buildings, should there be a credit for the repair work that was in the GMP?
What we did when we were looking at this is we assessed all of the roofs and we found that everything except the newer building that was building 2 needed to be re-roofed. We had so much money that was available during the GMP process. We had capital funds that were becoming available. So what they did is used as much of that sales tax money that was allocated for roofing. They put that in up front. It was only intended to cover buildings 1, 2, 3, and the covered walkways. It was not intended to do repairs or anything else on these other buildings. And then the second phase was for buildings 4 through 8. So no, there were no specific repairs in the original GMP for 4 through 8. But like you're saying, they were anticipating this work coming up. So they very well may have had the lightning protection and any other work that was up on that roofs included in their original GMP. There really is very little AC work going on this campus because this AC was all replaced 3-4 years ago.
Angel did a 4-year project every summer.
So we've only got, I think, 2 air handling units that are actually being replaced as part of this scope. And that was for building 2, which was the newer building, which wasn't involved with roof work. So I don't think there's any issues at all with the AC stuff.
We don't have any exhaust fans or any,
We are replacing exhaust fans, yes.
no, but I'm talking, that would be mechanical work that the roofer needs to flash to. So that would be worked by somebody. Now, if the fan replacement was already covered in another number, then that's covered. We're putting new fans in and therefore they put them back down on new flashed openings.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Now, I'm okay with going forward with this personally. I just think we need the follow-up to just clarify that, you've checked with Kaufman and Lynn and we're not going to see any more money charged related to the new roofing work we're doing.
Agreed.
Mike Gelfand, you still have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So I'm still a little confused as to the overall purpose of the change order. Was this roof, the original bid process did not include this scope, correct? Or did it as an option?
It was not included because we did not have enough funding to cover it. We had capital funds in our capital plan for re-roofing projects, and this was one of the projects that was pending. So what we're doing is combining the FCA work and a separate capital project together to make them into one project.
But Dorothy, it was bid during the original GMP. It just wasn't included in the GMP. I think that was his question. They did bid it with the original GMP. And you got a price with the original GMP.
No, No, we did not.
There was an allowance, not an allowance, there was a VE number in the original GMP for the additional roofing.
No,
No?
no. No, the original GMP just had buildings 1 through 3 and the covered walkways included in it. We anticipated that we had funds available and we were getting a separate proposal from them when those funds became available. But they were not included in the original GMP.
I know they weren't in the GMP, they were in the contractor's bid. He got the bid from his roofers for those additional buildings.
During the GMP?
I went and looked, and I looked back.
On the February GMP,
Yes,
value engineering page that talks about the roofing.
I think that's what Michael's question is.
See, my overall
Right here.
concern is,
I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
my overall concern is getting back to the appropriateness of the bidding process and especially the large amount of this. And whether or not we had a proper bidding process for this item.
Yeah, I don't think we would want to go to a different roofer or put it out to a small project roofing. I mean, I think we want a single warranty from one roofing contractor for a school. And the numbers were vetted through the AECom's estimator. That's right. To validate that the numbers weren't double what they should be, even with inflation. So I definitely wouldn't like to see a competitive bidding process just for 4 buildings of roofing, and now you got 2 different roofers on the
Two different
job.
roofers on the job at the same time.
Again, when Kaufman Lynn took bids for this project, they took a bid for all the roofs, 1 through 8 or whatever it is. They put the price competitively back in January or whenever it was, and they included it as an exception in their original GMP. So now they're just adding those same numbers at this time. So it is a competitive price. I was worried about that too, so I went back and I looked at the GMP and it was in there. It was just not included in the price.
Okay.
So it's a competitive price.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
So are we done with this? Any other questions or comments?
Well, I guess the biggest issue is John's concern about having a part-time superintendent and part-time engineer on there. And like Joe said, I mean, we do have roofing right now is going on that as much as they can get done at any given day. Okay, so they are working early in the mornings, they are working through the nights, depending on weather and what the weather allows. So I agree with Joe that we may have everybody else leaving the site at 5 PM or 7 PM or 9 PM, and the roofers may be there till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Well, there's your halftime super. I mean, if he's there from, 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning or something, that's the halftime super. And hopefully that's not the same guy that's supervising the bathroom work, or that tile work's not gonna look real good.
You're right, but, and it is the same thing when school comes back in session, they are working only night times. And whereas the regular workers are working during the daytime in rooms that are available.
Okay, if nothing else, then I need a motion to move forward with this.
I'm still very confused, but I will move it forward with that comment that we wanted information coming back next month.
Clarification that all related non-roofing items have been taken care of and won't be coming back as an extra change order.
Right. So that's the motion.
Okay. Do I have a
Oh,
second on that?
Second.
I don't understand this motion because under normal circumstances, if we don't have this information, we would ask it to be pulled or there'd be a motion to postpone.
I think the comment was that people were comfortable with it going forward, but we wanted more information. But that's why I was confused also.
What we're basically saying, what Mr. Sanchez and Dorothy and I are basically saying is we are very confident that that clarification, which we'll get in writing from Kaufman Lynn is in fact true, that it is, those are items that are taken care of, that are covered in this change order. We are stipulating that, and we will get written confirmation. So with that stipulation and future confirmation, we're proposing that it move, that Ms. Ferris's motion to move forward.
So Virginia, if I can clarify then, and Mr. Chair, what this then is a motion of no objection to the board considering, subject to staff first confirming in writing with the contractor that all exclusions are on the roofing contract are covered and there will not be any change orders for those items.
Sounds good to me, Michael.
Only if those items are required. I mean, some may be excluded and may not be required. Okay.
If they're not required, then they're not an issue. I don't see the distinction on that.
Well, because you can exclude something that you're not. You can exclude two different things. You can exclude something that that is required, and therefore you would have to pay for it, or you can exclude something that's not required, and therefore you wouldn't have to pay for it.
No.
Well, what are all of the exclusions then? What are the items that you're expecting to occur or that you're expecting to need? And I don't want to get down into just whether code requires it or not, because our specifications may, and probably I would hope, are tougher than code.
Michael, I think what Joe is saying is that, I mean, a contractor could put a list of 10,000 exclusions in just to cover everything. He's not responsible if the sky doesn't turn blue one day. I mean, that can be an exclusion, but it's irrelevant. And I think that's the issue. If it's an exclusion that's required to get the roofing work done, that's unacceptable and will not be paid for as an extra. If it's an exclusion that's in there that is completely unrelated to the roofing project, just because the contractor wanted to write it in there, then to me, I mean, that's irrelevant.
Well, at this point, I mean, in essence, we're approving a contract, if you would. What are the exclusions then that we're going back to make sure they are included?
Our approval can be no exclusions. Somebody take care of them.
Well, that's what my motion is.
Okay. Then the motion can be to approve, subject to no exclusions, and that staff can get verification from Kaufman Lynn of that and present it as a follow-up just to validate our motion. Because
But
we're
they
saying no
need-
exclusions.
Yeah, they need to have that. The way my motion is, that's to be obtained before the board votes.
It's not,
The only way you do that is if I have to pull the item between now and next Wednesday, if we couldn't get the exclusions. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, if we can't get that, then it does need to be pulled because it's
No,
not right.
well, we'll get the clarifications and send it to the board and to the CORC, so you can have that. We can do that without delaying this another month.
Okay.
we'll get that taken care of.
So if everybody's okay, the motion's then on the table to allow this to go forward with no objection if staff can get confirmation that there will be no exclusions to get the roofing job done. Is that correct? I guess Virginia, you made the motion. Is that acceptable?
Well, I think we're deferring now to Michael's motion.
Okay. Michael, is that acceptable to simplify it?
Yeah, you've got a simplified version. The tape bits will give you the exact wording.
Okay. So we have a first by Michael. I need a second.
I'll second Michael's.
Okay. Any further comments?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yes, Bill.
I'm leaning toward voting no on this, but my concern isn't what has just been discussed. It's the arrangement for paying the supervisors. So, now, am I misunderstanding what's happening there? That in fact we're including a 50% salary for this work, which will go to a 100% salary already in the contract. Original work. So I'm uncomfortable with that. Now, maybe somebody can convince me that that's,
What Dorothy was trying to explain is that most of the roofing work is happening at night because of
yeah,
heat
I
and temperature.
heard that, but
That's why it's not the same cost we're paying for the superintendent that's already working 10-hour days on the interior work. So therefore, you've got to pay extra for a super to handle that extra time needed to take care of supervising the roofing work.
And it's also, it is not for the duration of the project. It is only for the duration of the roofing work. So they've got 21 weeks where that would apply. So it's not, once the roofing work is done, that superintendent does not continue with the rest of the project.
This is work start, like as soon as we approve
As soon as we approve it. We're
So
hoping to start at July 1st,
Have
yes.
they named the superintendent yet? Do we know who he is?
No, they have not.
trying to hear that conversation is very difficult.
All right.
He was just saying, have they named the super yet? When does the work start? And the work starts July 1.
Let's do this. I will hold my vote until you get around the vote and see if everybody's agreed with it. I'm okay with it.
Okay, we'll poll Bill last. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got a first and a second. No further comments. All right, Dorothy Paulus, please.
David Porter,
Yes.
John Cheshire,
No.
Leah Gaines,
Yes.
Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, Bill Hukill,
No,
Can I also just reflect, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I see Frank Simon has joined the meeting?
Yes.
So, Mr. Simon?
okay, Frank Simon,
Yes.
Okay, we are moving on to,
that was a vote of 9-2.
yes.
Do we want to get the dissenting arguments? John?
The CM included unsubstantiated and unnecessary CM staff charges.
Okay, we are on to PC2.
No, PC1. I thought.
Yeah, Mr. Gelfand.
Oh, Mike, you pulled PC1, right? Michael Gelfand.
Yes, thank you. In reviewing the materials for this, it did not appear that the litigation disclosure was correct. I'm trying to get to the pages on this, but the on part B, it just doesn't make any sense. It shows a law firm as the plaintiff. It doesn't provide the information on the claims properly. So for that reason, I'd like to have this pulled for next month's consideration.
Mr. Gelfand, this is Holly Hahn. I just sent you an email. I have re-reviewed Cisco's litigation for Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and Federal, and there is no litigation. That's always routinely what I check. I have recommended to Construction Purchasing that they reach back out to Cisco to get information, clarification about the information they provided.
All righty. So at this point, I'm looking at the application as being not complete. And what I'd request is that this one be pulled for next month's consideration when they supplement it.
I defer to purchasing. I defer to purchasing to make that decision. That's fine with me. We can pull this one application.
And
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, I guess, Michael, you can make a motion with that as your contingent issue.
Yeah, is there anyone else on that one, or was that the?
that's the only new one, right?
Yeah, there is another applicant, but I believe so. It's not just Cisco. Just Cisco is new this month.
Yeah, there's renewals.
Okay.
but, there's only one new one.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So I'll make a motion that we have no objection to considering the renewals on PC2.
That's worthwhile.
Okay, need a second?
Second,
Second by John. Polish Dorothy, please.
Bill Hookil,
Yes.
David Porter,
Yes.
Frank Simon. Frank?
Yes.
Muted. Yes. John Cheshire,
yes.
Leah Gaines,
Yes.
Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
Virginia Ferris.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay. I had pulled PC2 only for the fact that I think as a group, when we approve items that are over budget, it should be something in Lou's report that we inform the board that we're accepting it because of current construction inflation. I think the board as a group needs to know, obviously they know we got inflation out there. Everything we're buying is higher priced. But I think it's our job to let the board specifically know that the item's acceptable and due to construction inflation. If anybody has any objection to that, we can move this one forward. That's the only thing I pulled it for.
But we don't know that for a fact, though, that it's, could have been additional scope during the design, or if that's the case, I agree with you, staff should state so it's, that it is the contractor states it's the material or labor increases due to inflation.
But we're not being told that there's a scope change. So that's why I made the assumption that the cost increase would have to be due to inflation. It's either going to be inflation, it's going to be the budget was wrong to begin with to cover the scope, or we're adding scope.
Yep.
So perhaps those three items should be a checkoff box that we're given in the cover page. So it's either original budget was wrong, inflation, or scope change or add.
Right, and we do kind of touch on it. I see your point, because we do, in conjunction with Treasury, our agenda item doesn't indicate that paragraph right before the numbers about the budget that we require an increase of $420,000 to cover that. That's the point which you want us to
I think the three items I just mentioned, I mean, if they literally were a checkoff box someplace on here, you know, if it's inflation, I'm not going to worry about it. I can't do anything about it. If it's a scope change, then I want to dig further and find out, okay, why did we change the scope?
Well, could we work? Yeah, we're good with that. We'll work offline. Dorothy and I will work offline with you guys collectively or through Mr. Porter to find out the best way to document it and show it in the future, because this is going to happen on, as you both point out, it's going to happen on a bunch of things.
It's going to happen on a bunch. And again, I think our job to report to the board is to let the board have direction to say, look, the scope was changed and here's where we're supporting of that scope change.
That one I have to put in there, yeah. But as you say, if it's not declared, are we making an assumption? Rather than make an assumption, we're just going to put it down in writing. It's very
I deal with clients all the time. They say, what's over budget? I said, well, guess what? Your budget was wrong.
All right.
Michael.
David, I think that's an excellent point to give, in essence, the client a heads up that, you know, we've got an increase. I would also suggest that the comment on,
I-95 North. In 400 feet, turn left on Fairway Drive, then turn left.
Somebody driving?
I think it's Sam's.
all right. I guess someone's trying to tell me where to go, but it's not usually a place that they tell me. I usually don't get directions that explicit.
They're leading you right there, Michael.
I think it would be appropriate as part of that to alert them why this is important. And that is, in essence, is that while Leanne has anticipated that we are going to have significant additional funds coming in, at some point we may be at a level where this will require a cutback of other projects.
Probably not, and just wait till the next meeting. Leanne presented a very well thought out plan, financial plan at the last ISOC meeting that I was at. And she's got it really well worked out with a lot of conservatism built into the numbers. So I really don't think we're going to be having to cut back on anything that we promised.
And just for the record, on this particular item, you're absolutely right. Everything you said is absolutely spot on. This item is not a facility renewal. It is not part of that sales tax. It is actually, the core expansion projects are strictly capital plan. So if we're over budget on those, we need to go to the board and tell them we're over budget and we need additional money. Or if Ms. Evans is actually reallocating money from someplace else, that's where we would tell the board.
Right. So this is not a sales tax project, Michael, that we'd have to worry about sales tax money running out to support this. This one is probably funded by cops.
Yeah, the source of funds is restricted reserves within the capital budget down in the financial impact
Right.
statement.
All right, we'll have staff work on that so that everybody has more clear direction as to why we're asking for more money on any project.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to move forward with this? I don't think so.
No, before you do, so
Yes.
what is the answer on this one? The
As
reason-
to whether it's inflation
Right,
or incorrect budget?
right.
Well, I guess an incorrect budget's always going to be correct when inflation is pushing it over the
Over the
budget.
budget, exactly.
So they're kind of related. I don't think there was a scope change that would
No.
have done it.
No.
It was just, 6-8 years ago when we established all the original budgets.
That's
A
correct.
lot of them were kind of, reach up in the sky and say, okay, that's what we think this core expansion should cost. And now it's not costing that because we have real drawings to do real takeoffs on.
Yes. That's
So
the
this is
spot- that's correct.
inflation.
Yeah, I would say it's inflation, that it's inflation and not having a better crystal ball 6 years ago when the original budget was established.
And that's about the time. You're in fact, it was a good guess, but you're in fact right. It's around 5 to 6 years ago when these budgets for all the core expansions were established.
So yeah, we'll call it inflation.
Did you
So-
still want the motion to state that you want to let the board know?
No, I didn't think it needed to be in the motion. I just thought,
Okay.
Luke had mentioned that in the
We'll
report that,
mention it. Okay, then I'll move it forward without objection.
okay. Second by John. Dorothy Paulus, please.
Bill Hukill,
Yes.
David Porter,
Yes.
John Cheshire,
Yes.
Frank Simon.
Haynes.
Yes.
Frank Simon.
Yes.
She's going down the list.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Lou Doctor,
Yes.
Michael Gelfand,
Yes.
Michael Guida,
Yes.
Sam Shannon,
Yes.
Tom Berger,
Yes.
and Virginia Ferris.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay, PC4, Michael Gelfand, you pulled it.
So I saw the questions that came in before, but I'm still uncertain as to, are we doubling the budget amount? And if so, then what has happened that justifies that?
Well, I think the budget increase, I think, was 500,000 from almost a year ago because it was last August. And I believe we're now asking for another 500 because there's so many projects under construction that need these services that the 500 that was a guess didn't cover it. But I'll let staff
And it goes
correct me.
through August 18th. So we're hitting summertime where we're spending a lot of these services. And as of August 18th, it will re-up for another 500, but we are going to run out if we didn't re-up it before then, because between June 9th and August 18th, we would have exceeded the original 500. It's the geotech services that we have on here, the testing and whatnot. We've got 2 modernizations starting right now. We've got a holding school that's under construction. Those alone would have pushed us over the limit. And it's basically, it's a convergence of all of the projects that we have, all coming rushing in at around this time. And unfortunately, knowing that August 18th is the day it renews. We didn't want to wait until August 18th to have that money re-up, so we're expanding it now.
So you might not need five
We're not
hundred
gonna need
between
anywhere
now
near
and the August date that it re-ups. I mean, it might be 200,000 you spend,
Correct.
but you want 500 in there just in case something goes over a lower guess.
Right.
Okay.
Do we anticipate running into this problem for the next fiscal year?
Are we gonna run into this problem next year? Yeah.
Well, if the 500 renews August 18th, is 500 going to be enough for what you anticipate for the next calendar year? Or does that need to be $1 million?
I think we have it scheduled for 2 million, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll be seeing that at the July board.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, I was gonna say, I knew we had talked about that,
Yeah,
because that was because next year, I think we have 3 modernizations
Right.
all starting up at the beginning of June. So while we have 2 under construction and 2 modernizations just starting, next year it's gonna be even busier. So, yeah, we have been anticipating that.
Yeah, and
I think that answers that question, that in August we'll see a bigger number that will hopefully mean that it'll take care of 12 months. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else, Michael?
Last time I asked for $1 million and get trumped to 2 million.
You want to make a motion to let this go, Michael?
Sure.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, Paulus, Dorothy.
So who, Gil? Bill? David Porter?
Yes.
Frank Simon?
Yes.
John Cheshire?
Yes.
Leah Gaines?
Yes.
Louis Doctor?
Yes.
Michael Gelfand?
Yes.
Michael Guida?
Yes.
Sam Shannon?
Yes.
Tom Berger?
Yes.
And Virginia Ferris?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are done with consent items. We are down to in-progress FCA work.
Dorothy, can you pull that up?
I'm gonna try.
There you go. Okay, before it comes up, so when it does come up, the first picture on the front page, I desperately tried to get one with Mr. Porter in there, but we failed to do so. This is groundbreaking. Between last month's meeting and this month's meeting, we had a couple of groundbreakings, both at Malaluca Elementary and at Grove Park. Now you say, but those schools already existed. Yeah, well, we've determined that this warrants celebration. This warrants the opportunity to applaud the voters at Palm Beach County who approved our sales tax referendum and allowed for this modernization to go on. And as you see, I love the fact that on both of the schools, not only did we have some of the dignitaries that were up there with their shovels, but they got to bring out the kids. This was done during school. It was the last week of school. So the kids got to come out and be a part of this effort. Because it means a lot to them. They wanted to know how this is going to impact them. This is their opportunity to see the early stages of this project, of these 2 projects. So go ahead and move on.
Yeah, I was at the one for Grove Park, and when they bring the kids out to flip the shovels of dirt and put the hard hats on, really hits home why we all do what we do here, because it's for the kids. I also asked Thornton Construction for a credit for all the earth moving that happened on that day. So we'll see if that comes through.
Yeah, they're going to do it by the hour, right?
Hey, don't forget the 17 PP. We had a groundbreaking there too.
Sorry. Yes, thank you very much. New middle school in Boynton Beach, 17 PP. That's exciting. I know we have principals being named for schools coming up, so that will be announced pretty soon as well, for both the high school and the new middle school, which are currently unnamed. And just as a reminder, everybody knows. But they're still unnamed because we get the principal and then the principal starts the process of naming the school and the colors and the mascot and all that fun stuff. So as soon as that principal gets on, they'll start that process. So. Okay, next slide, real quick, is our standard monthly, the accrued money and the expended money. We still got a pretty high participation on both our designers and our contractors. 31% is still pretty good.
Looks like the two numbers of money in and money committed is really close now.
Yeah. Yeah, and,
Okay, well,
you know,
that's a
and
good
of
thing.
course, my problem is I'm sure you guys are all looking at it and saying expended. How can we not spend it fast enough?
No,
Well, we're
it's
getting there. We're getting there. We're turning up the cranks on these. As a matter of fact, I feel for my purchasing folks because I've added staff to our the district between the AECom folks and ourselves. And now Dorothy's she's got a whole cadre of people that are working on her projects and plenty of our other projects. So you will see a lot of our expended numbers tick up over the coming months. It just means I put all the more pressure on purchasing because now all those purchase orders need to go out and TPs and whatnot. So we are cranking it up.
Yeah, just as they lost two people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark and Helen,
And Helen, yeah. So.
veterans.
This is, and again, as a reminder, if anybody wants to, I'm going to try not to read all these things because you guys don't need to hear me talk anymore. But these are all online. These are all on our board docs site. This is saved on there. This is our list of projects upcoming and for award for both designer and for contractor. And you'll notice that we have now the differentiation. I think we might have done this last month, but the reds and the blues. Of course, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't remember which one. Oh, the reds are the continuing services contracts. That's our 2 million or under, or our $2 to $4 million CMs and our architects. And the blue ones are the straight RFPs. That'll be out on the street. So, yeah, plenty of work. As you can see, I'm anticipating we're going to keep you guys busy for the next several months. We were slow in June, but that's primarily, I'm going to just chalk that up to the fact that we were getting a lot of work out on the street, trying to make sure that all the projects are addressed. The principals know what's going on in their schools. So we're focusing on a lot of these other projects in the coming months. So you'll see a constant flow of GMPs coming in. Next one. Development activities. Lots of things going on. Still talking about Roosevelt Full Service is out on the street. The master planning for our transportation facilities, and those projects will be going out shortly. The awards for I think we did the awards for the 4 millions. And down the bottom, starting to design RFPs this month.
Who's the architect selected for Roosevelt?
We have not selected. Because we're in the cone of silence, I have 6.
Says five RFPs.
I thought I read 6. Maybe it's only 5.
So
Five
architects responded?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Everybody's too busy.
But I'm pretty comfortable with
The 5 that applied. Yeah.
We've got good candidates
Okay.
that
When's
have
that
applied.
selection?
Next Thursday,
Okay.
9 a.m., right here.
There you go. Okay, well, again, I'm not gonna read it. There's a lot of GMPs that are coming out in the next coming months. And then we've got a bunch that are stacked up behind them. As a matter of fact, one of these days, I'll bring to you AECom helping us manage our program. We have what we refer to as a Stair Report. And it's basically just a spreadsheet that identifies all the different projects. And I've got 30 projects on this list that are all coming out in the next 5 to 6 months. Because what we don't want to do, we want to make sure that when we bring these things forward, not only is it a lot of work for you guys, it's a lot of work for purchasing. I mean, any one GMP takes a lot of effort for them. So between us putting them together, we don't want to throw 8 on 1 month. We do want to get them all done as quickly as we can, but we're trying to make sure that we stagger them so that they're getting done as quickly as possible, but with the amount of staff that we've got to be able to handle them. Do you see the last one? Design is ongoing for the modernization and core expansions for those West Riv, Winbrook, and Pine Grove. Those are our 3 modernizations that I referred to would be starting next summer. Okay, I'm not going to read these. I just counted them off. There are 18 different schools, facility renewal projects that are ongoing. So there's 4 slides, I think. You can see the last slide had Dwyer and Spanish River. Those are big ones that are ongoing. Okay, some of our photos. I know they're never really pretty, but some of these are work in progress. I mean, bathroom renovation at Dwyer. Well, it'll look nice when it's done. Nighttime work on the roofs at Dwyer. Okay, now next 2 projects, I'm going to purposely not put them on the spot. I'm just going to kind of touch on the overview of the 2 schools that are under Angel's purview. This O High School is well underway. You can see Pirtle is the contractor on this one, and they are on track for, I want to say it's a May substantial completion. Next May.
Next May, yeah.
So, but when you look at the photos, you're going to look at it and go, wow, it's going to take you till next May. It is really far along from the aerial view. Still a lot of work to go in. There's plenty of things going on that site. So if you want to scroll down to the pictures, because that's what everybody likes.
Every building's the same way. The shell goes up and it's like, oh, wow.
Wow, they're going to be done in a couple of months.
Yeah,
No.
that's the fast part.
Right. There's a lot of work to go on.
It's a little dot on that site. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't really take up a lot of the
Right.
site.
And there's a lot of amenities, fields and parking and buses and whatnot. It's quite honestly, this is an impressive job for our architect and our contractor, PGL and Pirtle, because it's a really small site. I want to say it's like a 48-acre
Oh,
site
wow. It's like 20 acres shy of what
of what we normally do.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's stacked. It's stacked.
That's why it's 3 stories.
Yeah. And our next one is with Moss, Blue Lake Elementary, 05C down in Boca. This one, I got the word from Angel is, yes, don't worry. Moss is on target to be done on time. I think their substantial completion date is July 25th. But they've got all their furniture's coming in next week. A lot of the improvements that are needed well in advance are all on time. And I would never say so without crossing my fingers, but we don't anticipate there are no material delivery shortages and things like that we anticipate would have any impact on the ability to have the school open come the beginning of August. So excited about it. Go ahead, you want to take a look at this. There's the first lift of the parking lot's down, landscaping, irrigation, all that's in. You can see it's kind of the black box in there is the playground area and the courts. The black is actually the courts. And other than a little bit of field that's closer to the buildings, all the field that leads out to Military Trail over by the baseball fields has been installed. So again, not that that's too hard to get installed in time, but they are on track. Go ahead, next slide. I think there's one last one. There's your view from the parking lot and the actual Blue Lake.
When do teachers occupy the classrooms? Isn't that like a couple weeks before school opens?
To be honest with you,
I think they come back 2 weeks before school starts.
yeah,
2 weeks before?
I believe.
They need to be in end of July?
yes.
Yeah, school starts August 1st, August 10th, I'm sorry.
And then we'll likely have temp before the July 25th date. So we will likely be able to fully load everything.
Good.
So that when they do arrive, all their furniture, everything's new in this school. It is not, we're not carrying over furniture from a holding school or something like that. So all the stuff that's coming to that school is coming new and will be in place.
And if you're bored and want to help a teacher decorate a classroom, you're more than welcome to come on down.
Okay, 17 PP, our middle school, groundbreaking, works underway, clearing, grubbing. Temporary fence is basically up. The office trailer is being moved. Building 3 foundation, that's the small one, is in. Canopy footings are being added shortly. Building foundation, the main building foundation is started. Impressive, huh? Well, but for everybody who's trying to understand where we are, the road, that box right there, that's Sunset Palms Elementary with the lake in front of it and the big circle driveway. The school is right there where the cursor is identified. And that road to the right is the road that runs through where the park is going to be. Actually, the park is just right there. That Abruzzo Road, the road to the north is Acme Dairy. Drawing a blank. Anyway, the road on the left is Boynton Beach Boulevard. I think that's the only photo we have from this one. Is that right? Oh, no, we got another different view. They're already starting to lay out foundations and whatnot. Delray Full Service, that's well underway. New construction of a 20,000 square foot 2-story building and renovation of the existing historic gymnasium. So you can see the gymnasium on the left-hand side picture. And the new building on its way up on the right-hand side. So still early on, but it's getting there. And people have asked me, well, the 2 schools that are starting, you guys approved the GMPs for Grove Park and for Malaluca for those modernizations that we're already starting. People were wondering about our holding school. Well, this is Crestwood Middle School. They're on the, well, I guess, yeah, the big building is Crestwood Middle School. And if you see right there on that picture, there's the bus loop. And then there's a big vacant area on the, I want to say it's the west side of that campus. And that is where we are installing, and I'm going to guess at the number. I want to say it's like 60 modular, rented modulars.
Oh, they're rented modules. Okay.
Yeah, rented portables, sorry. And it's going to be a 2-year rental because this year we are housing Malaluca. This coming school year, they will be housed here. And they'll use a certain number of classrooms inside of Crestwood because there's one building right by the bus loop that will also be the holding school. And then next year, Winbrook will also be utilizing this campus while we modernize their school. If you're going to ask, this is the holding school for Winbrook because there wasn't enough space on Winbrook to have a holding school. And next year, West Riv will be relocated to Lincoln. Just like this year, Grove Park is their holding school is at Lincoln. We'll move them out and move West Revere Beach in because they're also just down the street from Lincoln. And
hold on, back up on the rented portables. They're just trailers on wheels. They're not down on the ground, are they?
They will be.
They will be.
They will be flush.
Is that what we did for
holding
Verde
school at
on the other one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are kind of wood framed portables that then can still set on a slab.
Yes, and they are, I think they're metal frame, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they have their own floor?
Yes, yes.
So we have to build sidewalks or something up above what the slab is that the buildings are sitting on?
Correct.
Okay. Rather than have a whole bunch of ramps for elevated portables.
No,
Yeah,
that's, we will have covered walkway
right.
between all of them.
are we trying to reuse the covered walkways we use here for another school we'll be building as we did with Verde? Didn't we reuse the Verde walkways?
Actually, yeah, we're using some of them here, I believe, but we're also using, if you go to Blue Lake, can you scroll back up to Blue Lake? Or, okay, if you see on the, see where the black, basketball courts are, the black
Yeah,
rectangle?
In the back.
Just to the north of
Yeah, I
it
see
is
it.
that's the covered walkway we used during the holding school.
Okay, so we did reuse.
It's being reused in place,
That's what I was
that
hoping
portion
for.
of it. A lot of the other, the feeders and whatnot to some of the others, we're reusing them elsewhere.
Well, that's what I hope we
Yeah.
try to do with the Melaleuca too. I mean, instead of just taking a whole bunch of covered aluminum walkways and recycling the aluminum.
That's correct. No, nothing's getting thrown away.
Good. Okay.
And like I said, some of them, we were able to use them in place on the new school, so.
Okay.
And okay, and yes, and some of you have asked about the West Tech, we talked about it earlier today. There's our parking lots, and I know Dorothy and I, we get on Gary's case. Gary's our project manager for this one. We get on his case because how many, you've seen 3, 4 CCUAs for parking lot? Because we keep doing, well, we got a little more money, we can do a little bit more of that parking lot. And if you've ever been out to the Glades, this site, I mean, well, everybody knows what the Glades soil is and the compaction and whatnot. This site sincerely welcomes the opportunity to upgrade the paving there. It had been a lot of years, a lot of depressions and challenges. So this is desperately needed. So it was definitely a worthwhile venture.
Will the CDO program start this school year?
It's already, yeah, they've already graduated 7 people.
Oh, wow.
From the first, what do they call those? The groups? Not class, but they call them something else.
Cohort.
Cohorts, there you go. Couldn't think of the word.
So even without all the extra asphalt we're adding for the CDL program, they've been able to conduct a CDL program.
Correct.
Oh, good.
They've been doing some of the stuff off-site, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's why doing this now on-site will dramatically increase their count. Yeah, and they're very excited. As a matter of fact, Fred Barch is one of my friends at the district, and he's looking to do CDL everywhere he can because it's a very popular program now. They have waiting lists for people to make it through.
Yeah, absolutely. So are the instructors for the CDO program there school district employees and school district teachers, or they're outside people?
I think they're outside people. We have, Fred has been, he's very resourceful, and he has been able to acquire a number of vehicles, of 18-wheelers, tractor trailers, for these programs.
Good.
So those belong to the district.
Oh,
But I
okay.
think I want to say that the training is through an outside company.
Okay. All right, any questions for Dave? Okay, we're moving on. I see we have follow-up. I didn't see any
I don't
follow-up
think we have any.
in
follow-up.
our packet, so no follow-up. Approval of minutes, anyone with minutes issues? Not hearing anything, Virginia.
Nope, no problems.
Okay, good. Anything someone wants for our next meeting that we haven't already told staff? One thing I remember is to bring back Leanne's discussion of ISOC and how we're gonna fund everything.
David, I think next month we're supposed to get an update on the Jupiter Police Station.
Yeah.
And also, could we get an update on, about a year ago, we approved revisions to the contingency use policy. And I don't think those have been officially approved yet. Can we get an update on what's going on with
I
it?
think we had taken care of it, but then they went through the policy approval process at the district.
No, here, I think it was last summer we approved that.
I guess we just need confirmation that whatever we put to the board accepted and they became real policies.
They have not been to the board yet.
Oh.
So you're all now calling me out in front of my boss. Yeah, they are in the process. The district has made a concerted effort collectively to update all of our policies. Ours, before Jim left, ours were already updated. They were off of me and in through the routing process. Yeah, I'm supposed to get on, call people up and find out where they are and why we haven't moved them forward. So yeah, they are on my docket of things that I need to get on and push through and find out why they haven't been approved. But yes, they're already well past us.
So now you have
I
1
think even
month.
went through legal, that process. So there's other steps beyond there.
Going to be working with the board secretary to get it on the agenda because it's got to go through a workshop, development, and then adoption, and there's statutory timeframes for that. So
So that's my issue to push and I will do so.
And we thought getting change orders took a long time. Okay, well then.
Sorry about that.
You've got 1 month to at least follow up.
I will certainly. And Erin's sitting on this call, so she knows, guess what, Erin? I'm gonna need some help on this. So yes, we're gonna work on that, make sure we push it through.
Okay.
the other one to look at is retainage.
Yep, there's 3 of them that we got through.
Yeah, we had worked through
We
them
went
with
through
Jim
them all.
Kennard.
All
Yeah.
3 of them are in the same place and they're the ones that I have to make them go through.
That was the only one.
I've had some mercy on Dave because he's lost some really key people, including Jim Kennard and a few other folks. So he's doing the best he can.
Jim's very happy in retirement. He just hired me to redo his master bath, so.
There's no conflict of interest there?
No, I don't think there's any conflict now. He's finding out what real prices are about because I gave him a budget. He goes, no, it won't cost that much. Now he's got prices. Now he's not a happy camper. All right. Anything by anybody else? Michael?
So my apologies if during one of my tech, where I dropped the sound. And I'll try to put this in a non-confrontational matter or format. And that is, how is the district looking at preparing plans and financing what many parents will expect to be the hardening of our school facilities? And of course, after the next tragedy, they're all going to be pointing fingers and everyone's going to want to make certain that they're undercover.
I'll jump in a little bit on that one, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Yes.
So we have 2 closed door security sessions with our board. One is next week, Wednesday, and the other one is coming up in July. I forget the exact date. And we'll be giving the board a briefing on the things that we are doing already, from a school policing standpoint, as well as from a facility standpoint. I will say that our board has spared no expense on doing whatever's necessary to make our schools as secure as possible. Again, I always say, my tagline is this is not the board, this is Joe Sanchez saying, I want to make our schools as secure as possible without making them feel like prisons. So whatever schools need based upon, and there's multiple levels of security that we employ, and we have, as a result of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, we have threat assessment teams at every school that determine what needs to be done, and those items are taken up as quickly as possible. We also have trained professionals who are trained in SEPTET principles, and those recommendations are going to added cameras, added card readers, motion detectors, fencing, gates. Those things are done as quickly as possible as well. So I can't give a more precise answer, but I would tell you that we have a single point of entries at every school. We have armed police officers at every school, and there's additional things that we're doing. One of the things that we're doing that was made public is that we're adding guard checks to every one of our high schools. But we're continuously doing more and more things to make sure that our schools are kept as safe as possible. So I think that I'm at liberty to say what I said. I'm not sure if I can say anything else, but I'll try to answer a question if I can. if you have something more specific that you wanted to ask me about.
So, can you give me a definition? And by the way, thank you for the information. What is SEPTEC?
SEPTA is crime prevention through environmental design, CPETED, crime prevention through environmental design.
So, as we move forward, one of my significant concerns, especially dealing with security issues for decades in communities, is whether the goals for the expenditure funds are reasonably related and well defined to the needs. What I have seen frequently, and many folks trot out that we spare no expense, but the problem with sparing no expenses is that you don't necessarily focus on the goals. And what I'd like to, have some type of oversight by someone in ensuring that we do have. I've got some construction going on with that. Give me one moment here.
Tom Berger, while Michael's muted, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. I get the idea of not making it public what the police are doing and what others are doing. I'm a little confused on what the construction is that makes it safer is. When, the military may not show you what the construction of an airplane is, but they show you the airplane. Okay. So it's there. Why? I think and I say this from the standpoint of being a parent of children that were at school. Don't have kids there now, that were at school. And so we have the ability, a lot of us, of seeing what can work and what won't work. And I know that you guys, staff and all, share that equally. But I do believe that allowing us to see what is being done and what is useful and what is not necessarily useful from the construction, not from the security per se, not where the cops, not where the school police are and such, but what is being done would be beneficial. And also, it's part of our job for the oversight of the expense.
Yeah, I think that there's some things that we are showing. I mean, I did an interview the other day, and we showed the single point of entry at the school. This school, this was at Triple O, so I don't have a problem showing anybody, the single point of entry. However, our plans are excluded from public records because we don't want anybody getting a hold of our plans and plotting on how they can attack our school. So while I'll be glad to, we could sit in the parking lot and I could point out security cameras and card readers and stuff like that. I don't disclose how many card readers and how many.
Joe, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Right.
Showing us what is going on and how it's being done without giving us the total overview is fine. But I think we need to see that so we can understand what it is that's being done.
Right. Yeah. Some of the questions I'm getting from parents is like, how many police officers are there and how many are armed and how many, we don't go into that kind of conversations with parents, but we do tell them about, generally what we were doing. And obviously when we put up the guard shacks in front of the schools, you're going to see that. That's going to be very obvious. So I try to disclose as much as I'm allowed to disclose without getting us in trouble.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can get back in again, and my apologies for the mechanical noise that was in the background. Joe, I understand, and with Tom, the discussion back and forth. The question that I have, and I don't expect an answer right now, is who's actually evaluating what the goals are for this and how well our expenditures are beating those goals. Because as I've said, I've seen significant waste and folks just waddling around. the school, the police department, or the sheriff's department, or whoever it is that may propose, there needs to be some type of oversight to confirm what is occurring, especially as we've seen a significant number of change orders come in for work that should have been part of the original bid proposals and was coming in late for some reason. Whoever was responsible for identifying didn't identify it up front. So those are some significant concerns as we move forward. If the board does not want us involved, then I invite them to tell us point blank, CORC, we don't want to have your oversight of any of this stuff. Not that I think that's a good idea, but if that's what's occurring, then let's make that as a knowing, knowledgeable statement as we move forward. Thank you. Oh, and one last thing. So it's at what it sounds like our schools are going to be fortified the same way that synagogues in Europe are, in which we're going to have walled fortresses with guard posts at corners and presumably bulletproof glass for those that are inside them, and they're going to be well armed. I'd like to know, is that where we're going with our schools?
I don't think so. No, I don't know enough about the synagogues in Israel to understand how they are protected, but I don't think that we're at the stage of moving to them being walled areas. Right? There's no discussion about building walls around all of our schools at this point. So I can give you that much.
Well, I mean, to the extent that someone is undertaking a threat analysis and we look at what's happened at the other schools, I mean, if we're going to be at a point where we're not going to be dealing with the externalities and we're just looking at perimeter security as being the only barrier for our schools, then that may be the expectation. And I'm not saying, that should be our approach, but to the extent that there's going to be an expectation that the schools are going to have a perimeter that is going to protect everyone inside, and that is going to be the primary strategy, because listening to the governor yesterday and listening to other so-called leaders, it seems to be that the focus is going to be that we need to get back to, in their words, securing the schools. And if that's so, and that's the direction, then I guess we got to bulk up for it. Thank you.
I'll summarize, I think, at least from my point of view, what we've had in the past with security-related issues. The board hasn't told us just, hands off. And so we'll get a change order for adding, 200 linear feet of conduit and wire for extra camera locations that were not thought out at the time the architect finished the drawings or the GMP was set, because after there was a 3D physical structure there, somebody walked through and figured out that they needed more security points. That's perfectly fine. But again, that comes back as a construction change order. And we're sitting here thinking, okay, are we supposed to just accept this stuff? Are we supposed to have oversight? And if the board wants to allow that to happen, that's all we need to know, that we're meant to be hands off and not have input, or somehow figure out how CORC should have input, just so we know what our purview is.
Oh, okay, I'll ask the board to provide some clarification on it. I mean, and you kind of hit on one topic also, that it's building code issue that you're aware of, I'm sure, Dave, is that and I actually Dave Dolan to help me out with this, but all of our schools have, you have to make sure you have radios that work within your schools, for first responders. And the way that process works, what's the name of that system again, Dave?
BDA, bidirectional.
Yeah. Right. And the way that typically works is that you build the building first, and then you test to make sure the radios work, and then you come back with a change order to add, amplifiers or repeaters or whatever it is to make sure the radios work. So the way that's a designed change order really waiting to happen, or you could put an allowance in there to say that you're going to add some things in there. But I mean, that's an example of the kind of security stuff that we need to make sure we have, because the last thing we want to have happen is, you have, police show up to your facility, but they can't talk to each other. So, so we're working through those kind of issues.
Okay. All right, anybody with anything else?
Yes, David?
Yes.
If all goes well, I will be in Vancouver for the next several months. Hopefully my internet connection works and I'll be joining you from there. But
Okay.
if I should have some problem, I will try to text you or ask for, an excused absence till I get the connection worked out.
Okay. Very good. All right. Nothing else by anyone. We are then adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Take care. Have a good one.